Our topic, Celebrities in the 1920s, is focused on the stars that lived and thrived during this decade. These individuals served as an embodiment of the time period through their clothing, performances, compositions, and lifestyles. We chose to focus on 6 influential celebrities: fashion icon Coco Chanel, movie star Gloria Swanson, acclaimed performer Josephine Baker, notorious gangster Al Capone, distinguishable actor Charlie Chaplin, and homegrown musician Duke Ellington. The first celebrity we want to talk about is Coco Chanel. She was born in France as a poor orphan, and her original name was Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel. She became a famous fashion designer and a businesswoman, and was famous for her signature style, brand awareness, and social buzz around her. She was unique because she designed her clothes for women's needs at the time. Women wanted freedom from the constraints of fashion and society, and she helped give them that by using durable fabric that was usually used for men. She also got rid of unnecessary frill and lace. She helped to create the flapper look, meaning her clothes became more masculine. She invented the idea of the little black dress. Black was previously seen as a color for mourning, but now it was seen as chic. During World War II, she became involved with a German military officer, and after that scandal, she left the fashion world. At 70 years old, she came back and continued her business. After she died, Karl Lagerfeld continued her company, and then after that, the Wertheimer family took over and continued her company, making a lot of money each year.
Gloria Swanson was especially influential during the 1920s because of her role not only as an actress but also getting involved in the other side of production. She started her own production company, which was pretty typical for actresses to do, but she also handled the business side, dealing with details of the film. Her big break was when she signed a 7-year contract at famous Players Lasky in a series of films. She became the most successful actress in America by the mid-1920s. She was known for her elaborate and famous costumes. One historic film was when she fought for Madame Sans-Jane, gaining rights to film in historic French sites. It was the first American-French co-production where both countries were involved. Swanson had a very large say in production, controlling who directed and who was cast. One scandal she was involved in was when she committed adultery, getting pregnant. She then got an abortion, but it was botched, resulting the public debating whether she was going to live. This brought a lot of publicity to famous Players Lasky. She fell into a state of depression and died later in her life.
Next, we have Josephine Baker, born with the name Frida Josephine McDonald. Baker was born in St. Louis, Missouri, to 2 entertainers who would frequently take her to their shows. Unfortunately, Baker's parents' careers failed to ever take off, forcing Baker to resort to strange jobs and even danced on the street for money. One day when dancing, Baker caught the attention of an African-American theater group that she later went off to work with at the age of 15 and got married around the same time, taking her husband's last name. Baker then moved to New York City, flourished as a dancer in the theater genre, and participated in the Harlem Renaissance, or the celebration of Black life and art. However, her career didn't really take off until she moved to Paris and performed in her most acclaimed show, Danse Sauvage, which featured Baker dancing in a skirt made entirely of bananas. Because of this, Baker became one of the most famous performers and went on to star in several major European motion pictures and participate in many civil rights movements during the Civil War.
Al Capone was born into an immigrant family in Brooklyn. He quit school in 6th grade and joined a notorious gang. Later, Capone joined his friend Torrio in Chicago in the Cosimo mob. They illegally brewed and distilled beer and liquor. This mob developed interest in legitimate businesses in the cleaning and dyeing fields with receptive public officials, labor unions, and employees and associations. Capone became a leader of the mob when Torrio was seriously injured. He had a fearsome and ruthless reputation. His goal was to consolidate his control in the gambling, prostitution, and bootlegging industry, and he did this by eliminating his competitions. One of the most violent incidents is called the Valentine's Day Massacre, where Capone's enemy was shot to death by people dressed as police officers. Technically, this was never linked to Capone, but it was known he was responsible for the murders. Capone was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon and contempt for avoiding going to court. Later, he was arrested for tax evasion, and that is when he was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison, and he went to Alcatraz. There are other incidents where Al Capone likely killed people, but it was never able to be proved. After Capone was released from Alcatraz, he was sick and isolated and died with his family.
Next, we have Charlie Chaplin. He was born in Walworth, London, England in 1889. Both his parents were music hall performers. He got his start when his mother wasn't feeling well during one of her performances, so he was brought out to sing, wowing the audience at only 5 years old. His official career started when he was 18, when he went on tour with Fred Karno's vaudeville troupe. During his career, he wasn't only an actor, but a director as well. Chaplin signed with First National Studios, later turning it into Chaplin Studios. He is most known for his role as the Little Tramp, which he appeared in in almost all of his 35 films throughout his career. The character had a toothbrush mustache, bowler hat, bamboo cane, and a funny walk. He was a scandalous man, being married 4 times with 11 children, common of the time. However, he was a refined man and came off quiet. He died of natural causes at the age of 88.
Lastly, we have Duke Ellington, a pianist born in Washington, D.C. Ellington's mother, a piano enthusiast, prompted him to begin playing piano at 7 years old, but he didn't grow to appreciate it until he was in high school. During his teenage years, he often examined music with friends and even wrote his first composition at just 16 years old. Then he went on to win a scholarship to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn as a high school student, but declined, and instead began playing piano professionally at 17. Ellington first played in New York City in 1923 and moved there shortly after, leading a 10-piece ensemble called the Washingtonians, who helped to influence Ellington's jungle style, which can be seen in his songs East Street Louis, Toodaloo, and Black and Tan Fantasy. Ellington also played regularly at the Hollywood Club in New York City, which later became known as the Kentucky Club, and landed a permanent spot for him and his band at the famous Cotton Club. These gigs that he landed increased his popularity majorly and even allowed him to be included in some NBC broadcasts. However, through all the fame, Ellington retained a strong connection with his roots and his hometown of D.C. Ellington frequently returned to perform, maintained contact with his first piano teacher, and even took his teacher on tour with him and his band. Ultimately, Ellington passed on the ideals of self-confidence, perseverance, and appreciation of cultural richness of Washington, D.C. to his fans. Through these 6 celebrities, we can see the ideals of the time period through the idea of the pursuit of happiness that defined the decade.